It was the summer of 1985 when I first encountered the doll. My family had just moved into an old, sprawling house on the outskirts of town. It was the kind of house you see in horror movies, with creaking floorboards, dimly lit hallways, and an eerie, abandoned feel. My parents were thrilled by the character of the house, but I felt an unsettling chill from the moment we arrived. The doll was discovered in the attic, hidden away in a dusty old trunk. I was the one who found it while exploring our new home. She was exquisite, with porcelain skin, delicate features, and eyes that seemed to follow me wherever I went. Her dress was tattered but had once been beautiful, a testament to a bygone era. I felt an inexplicable urge to take her with me, despite the nagging feeling of unease she instilled in me. My parents were amused by my new friend and didn't think twice about it. I named her Emily, and for a while she sat on a shelf in my room, watching over me as I slept. At first, I thought the creeping sensation I felt at night was just my imagination. But as the days went on, I couldn't shake the feeling that Emily was more than just a doll. It started with small things. I would find her in different positions than I had left her head tilted or her hands moved. I convinced myself I was imagining it, but then the whispers began. Late at night, I would hear faint, indistinct murmurs, like someone speaking in a language I couldn't understand. I would lie in bed, heart pounding, straining to catch the words, but they would always stop as soon as I sat up or turned on the light. One night, I woke to find Emily no longer on the shelf. She was sitting on the edge of my bed, her glassy eyes fixed on me. I froze, fear paralyzing my limbs. I wanted to scream, but my voice was caught in my throat. I stared at her, and for a moment, I could have sworn she blinked. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying it was a nightmare, but when I opened them again, she was still there, unmoving. The next morning I tried to tell my parents, but they dismissed it as a bad dream. I couldn't convince them that something was wrong. Desperate, I decided to get rid of Emily. I took her to the backyard and buried her deep in the ground, hoping that would be the end of it. But that night she was back on my shelf, dirt clinging to her dress and hair. I was terrified, but I had no idea what to do. I started researching the history of the house, hoping to find some explanation. What I discovered chilled me to the bone. The previous owners had a daughter named Emily, who had gone missing under mysterious circumstances. She was never found, and her disappearance had cast a dark shadow over the house. The doll had belonged to her, a cherished possession that was left behind. I became obsessed with uncovering the truth. I spent hours in the local library, digging through old newspapers and records. I learned that Emily's parents had been accused of her disappearance, but there was no concrete evidence to convict them. The case had gone cold, and the family had eventually moved away, leaving the house to decay. One night, as I was poring over old articles, I heard the whispers again. This time they were louder, more insistent. I followed the sound to the attic, where I had first found the doll. The room was freezing, and I could see my breath in the air. Emily was there, sitting in the center of the room, her eyes glowing with an unnatural light. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "What do you want?" The whispers grew louder, forming words I could finally understand. "Find me," they said. "Help me." A surge of determination washed over me. I couldn't let this go on. I had to help Emily, whatever the cost. I spent the next few days searching the house for clues, guided by the whispers that seemed to emanate from the doll. They led me to a hidden compartment in the basement, where I found a small, dusty journal. The journal belonged to Emily's mother and detailed the events leading up to her disappearance. It spoke of strange occurrences, much like what I was experiencing, and a growing fear that something malevolent was in the house. The final entry was a desperate plea for help, describing a night when Emily had vanished without a trace. As I read the journal, I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. I turned to see Emily standing beside me, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Help me," she whispered again, and I knew what I had to do. I went to the authorities with the journal, and they reopened the case. With the new evidence, they were able to piece together what had happened. Emily's parents had been innocent. It was the house itself that was to blame. There was something evil within its walls, something that had taken Emily and was now using her doll to reach out for help. The house was sealed off, deemed too dangerous to inhabit. My family moved away, and I never saw Emily again, but I will never forget her, or the horror that unfolded in that house. I can still hear her whispers sometimes in the dead of night, and I wonder if she ever found the peace she was searching for.